Last time on History in Motion, we stepped into a world before cities, before farming, when survival meant outsmarting the wild. We discovered how early humans turned time itself into a weapon, inventing the first trap and snare. From hidden pit to clever vine loop, these ancient machines did not just capture prey, they captured the spark of human ingenuity. They taught us to plan, predict, and imagine the unseen, shaping the very mind that would build civilization one day. Now, the story continues as we follow that same thread of innovation into the next great leap in invention. Imagine standing on an African savanna 60,000 years ago. You heard the low rumble of elephant in the distance and the soft wail of something slicing through air. Silent, deadly and precise. A reed shaft tipped with sharpened stone pierced the hide of gazelle. For the first time in human history, death has traveled faster than sound. The bow and arrow. A weapon so simple in form, yet so profound in consequences, that it reshaped the destiny of humankind. But how did this moment of genius come to be? Who first dreamt of bending wood into a living spring of energy at that time? This is the story of one of the greatest innovations ever made. Not just a weapon, but a symbol of human ingenuity, adaptation, and the birth of long range power. To understand the invention of bow and arrow, we must travel back deep into the Stone Age, long before cities, before metal, before civilization itself. Our ancestors had already mastered fire, tools, and teamwork. They hunted with spears, ambushed prey with traps, and scavenged the remains of large predators. But the world was changing. As Homo sapiens began to spread out of Africa, new challenges emerged: vast open landscape, unfamiliar prey, and rival species like the Neanderthal who were just as intelligent and resourceful. At this stage, human hunting relied on brute strength and courage. Spears and javelin could pierce thick hide, but their range was short. Getting close enough to throw one at a charging bison or a skid antelope was a dangerous gamble. Every hunt was a dance with death. Then came a leap of imagination, one that turned the limitation of muscles into the possibility of physics. Someone, somewhere, realized that bending a flexible piece of wood and storing its energy in tensioned fiber, that force could be unleashed in an instant, with a small lightweight projectile from a safe distance. This single insight would forever define the balance between man and animal. But where and when did it happen? The oldest known evidence for bow and arrow technology came from the southern tip of Africa, the Subudu Cave in modern day South Africa. Archaeologists there uncovered tiny stone points, some no bigger than a thumbnail, dating back around 64,000 years. Under a microscope, these points revealed microscopic wear marks and residue from plant resin, the ancient equivalent of glue used to affix them to slender shafts. These were no ordinary spear point. These were too small and tiny. Experimental archaeologists reconstructed replicas and discovered they could only be propelled by one thing: a bow. The discovery shattered assumptions about technological sophistication during the Middle Stone Age period. These people, our ancestors, were already mastering engineering principles, crafting composite weapons, and understanding tension, elasticity, and aerodynamics long before modern civilization arose. It suggested that the concept of long range weaponry wasn't born in a war zone or hunting camp, but in the creative mind of early humans facing the endless test of survival. As humans migrated across the world, so too did their invention. The bow, in its many forms, traveled with them. In Europe, evidence from sites like Stelmore in Germany showed reindeer hunters using wooden bows around 10,000 years ago, near the end of the Ice Age. These bows were simple but effective, carved from yew and elm, with arrow often tipped with flint or bones. In Asia, bows become more sophisticated. By around 3500 BCE, societies on the Eurasian steppes had begun developing composite bows, made from wood, horn, and sinew, carefully glued together. These bows were shorter, more compact, yet far more powerful than simple wooden ones, and they changed everything. Horseback archers like the Scythian, Huns, and later the Mongol turned these weapons into a force of empire building. The bow had evolved from a hunter's tool into an instrument of conquest, capable of striking fear and death from beyond sight. But long before Genghis Khan drew his first string, the bow had already shaped the human mind. In hunter-gatherer culture, it became not just a technology, but a spiritual symbol. Among the San people of southern Africa, whose ancestors likely invented the earliest bows, the hunter's arrow carried more than poison. It carried prayer. Rituals often include songs, dance, and symbolic offerings to ensure the spirits bless each shot. In ancient Egyptian tombs, depiction of archers celebrated precision and poise. In ancient Greece, gods like Artemis and Apollo were patrons of the bow, embodying nature's balancing between destruction and grace. The bow was reversed across continents as both a gift and a great responsibility. It was a tool that demanded calmness, patience, and accuracy, qualities that came to define sophisticated human behavior. From an engineering perspective, the bow was a masterpiece of prehistoric innovation. It turned potential energy into kinetic force with elegant efficiency. When a hunter draws a bow, the curved limb stores elastic energy. Upon release, that energy transforms to the arrow, propelling it forward at a speed exceeding 200 kilometers per hour in modern version. The genius lies in its simplicity, portable, lightweight, and made from natural materials, available almost everywhere on the earth. Designs varied based on region and environment. In Africa and Europe, long bows carved from single staves of yen and elm dominated. In Asia, composite bow used horn and sinew for greater power. In the Arctic, Inuit hunter fashioned bow from bones and whalebone layered with sinew, adapted perfectly for the freezing climate. Each version represented thousands of years of experimentation, trial, and shared knowledge passed from one generation to the next. As humans formed tribes, kingdom, and empire, the bow and arrow stepped onto the battlefield. In ancient Egypt, it was the weapon of kings and charioteers. Pharaohs like Thutmose III and Ramses II were depicted wielding bows against their enemies, often accompanied by inscription declaring divine accuracy. In Mesopotamia, archers guard the wall of city-state. In Greece, they fought on the flank, providing long-range cover. And in Asia, entire civilizations were built upon horseback archery, from Parathons to the Mongols. The medieval English longbow stands as one of history's most iconic examples. At battles like Agincourt in 1415, English archers turned tides against heavily armed knights, from distance unthinkable for hand-to-hand combat. A rain of arrows could darken the sky, break morale, and decide the fate of empire. The bow was not just a weapon, it was a great equalizer. Muscles turned irrelevant, skill became everything. Thousands of miles away, indigenous people across North and South America independently discovered or adopted bow technology. From the Great Plain, hunter pursuing bison with short, powerful bows, to Amazonian tribe using long and flexible one tipped with poison dart. The bow became part of daily life, rituals, and identity. In the Arctic, Inuit hunters used snoot-backed bow to pierce the thick hide of seal and caribou. Each culture reinterpreted the concept to fit its environment, teaching us that the bow wasn't the work of a single inventor, but a global idea emerging repeatedly through human innovation. Despite its ancient origin, many myths still surround the bow and arrow. One common misconception is that it was invented as a weapon of war. But the truth is, hunting came first. Survival, not conquest, forged the bow. Warfare only came later, when societies had surplus, territory, and ambition to defend. Another fascinating fact, the bow likely predates agriculture. While most technologies advanced rapidly after farming began, the bow emerged among nomadic hunter gatherers with no fixed settlements or armies. Also, the bow did not vanish with the arrival of the guns. In many parts of the world, it endured for cultural and practical reasons. In Japanese yomi, used in the martial art Kudo, remains a spiritual symbol of balance and focus. In Bhutan, archery is the national sport, celebrated with songs and culture. And then there's the myth of the primitive past. Modern reconstruction of Paleolithic bows shows that ancient humans were remarkable engineers. Some could launch arrow more than 100 meters with modern level accuracy. The invention of the bow was less about violence and more about intelligence. The bow and arrow did more than change how humans hunted. It changed who we became. First, it redefined cooperation. Hunting from a distance required coordination, spotting, signaling, and timing among group members. It strengthened social bonds, communication, and shared strategy. Second, it sharpened cognitive skill. Building and maintaining bow required foresight, planning, and abstract thinking, which is a hallmark of modern human intelligence. Fletching feather, carving shaft, and selecting the right wood meant mastering material science long before the term existed. Third, it altered our relationship with distance and death. For the first time, human could kill without contact. That psychological leap to strike from afar expanded ethical and emotional dimension of violence. It paved the way for complex combat tactics and perhaps storytelling itself. Tales of hunters, heroes, and the moment one shot changed destiny. Anthropologists often describe it as a technical extension of the human arm, granting reach beyond physical limits. Just as fire extended our digestion and stone tools extended our hand, the bow extended our power into space. It wasn't just an invention, it was an evolution of perception, shaping the human mind to think in trajectories, anticipate motion, and imagine what could happen beyond sight. From the first slender shaft carved in prehistoric Africa to the intricate laminated bow of medieval Asia, the bow and arrow represents a journey that spans nearly all of human history. It taught our ancestors precision, patience, and mastery over material. It fed us, defended us, and symbolized our growing control over the world around us. But perhaps its greatest legacy lies not in war or hunting, but in what it revealed about human curiosity, our relentless drive to transform the environment through our imagination. Today, the sound of a bowstring snapping may seem ancient, almost centurial, yet it whispers of a time when the first spark of innovation met survival, and one human realized that to bend wood was to bend our destiny. So, thank you for joining in. If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And join me next time as we continue our journey from stone to silicon.